Okay, so we've kind of reviewed a little bit about what a user in a group is. Now, um, keep in mind as we create a new user using the add user command, they will be placed into a group that is the same name as the user. So let's just take a look. Here I am on just a test machine that I've set up. I'm going to do sudo add user Fred. And I have to put in obviously my sudo password. And then it's going to, as you look at this, it's saying we're adding the user Fred. We're adding a new group called Fred with a GID of 1001. We're adding the new user of Fred with a UID of 1001 into the group Fred. So we can also see right here another interesting thing that usually when we do an add user command, the UID and the GID will be the same number. That doesn't always have to be the case, and it really doesn't even matter if it is the case, but traditionally that's what happens. Also, we can see what happens is we're creating a new home directory /home/Fred. We're copying files from a directory, and we'll look at that in a second. And then I'm going to put in a password for that user. And then this is actually where we can enter that geckos information. So Fred Flintstone or whatever it might be, 123, room number, whatever, something else. Yes, that's correct. And we do cat out etc password. You can see there at the very bottom, there's Fred, there's that geckos information, there's a home directory, there's the shell that they should be using. And we cat out etc group. You can also see Fred, and he's by default going to be a member of it. But as we come back here, so Fred is obviously a member of his own group, but he can also be a member of other groups. So if I jump back here, and I'm going to say, sudo add group, and I'm going to add a new group called movies. I don't know, just for the heck of it. And we're going to do sudo add user Fred into the movies group. And there's a lot of different ways of adding groups, and there's a lot of different ways of adding users to groups. But I like doing it that way. You can do it whatever way you want. But if we look over here in etc group again, we can see now there's a movies group. I'm looking down here at the bottom. It got the next available GID, which is 1002, and it assigned Fred into that group. Now, just for fun, let's just see what happens if I do a sudo add user Nacho. Look at this. Now the UIDs and the GIDs don't match up because Nacho gets the next available group ID number for the group, which is 1003, and the next available UID is 1002. So they don't necessarily match up, and I can add passwords for them and whatever stuff that is. Cat etc password, cat etc group. So we can see there's Nacho. Great, let's add him to the same group, Nacho. Add him to the movies group. Awesome. So we can cat etc group there. Now we see that Fred and Nacho are members of that group. So we looked at how to add people to a group. But the final question on this slide is, when a file or directory is created, who owns it? And what are its permissions? Well, the UID of the file comes from a process that created it. So now, let me log in as Nacho. Sudo su -Nacho. Whenever you log in as a particular user, that's the way you should log in, unless you're SSHing in. But if I'm just switching user, we should do su-Nacho. Awesome. So who am I? I'm logged in as Nacho right now. Now let's create a file called x.txt. And you can see it's owned by Nacho and Nacho. Well, how did we get that? Well, it says the UID comes from the process that created it. Wow, man. How do we figure out what process created it? Well, let's do a ps command. And great, ps command shows us the processes we have running. Let's try AU. That's even better. So we can see some different processes. In fact, I wonder if I can do a PSU. Let's just do that one. So right now I can see there's two processes running as the Nacho user. There's the PS command that I just did. That ran as the Nacho user. That one's ended. If I run it again, you can see it has a different process ID. But anyway, this is the one that I ran the SU command to log in as Nacho. And so whenever I touch a file or create a file, it's running under that user ID of Nacho. And so that's why the file gained the permissions of Nacho.